Chris Watkin back again with another estate agency story. And today I'm joined by Chris Ellis, who is an agent from Kent. Thanks for joining me today, Chris.
Thank you.
Chris, I want to talk to you about your story as an estate agent, the ups and the downs, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Cool.
Is that okay?
Yep.
Right, let's kick off. When were you born? Where were you born? And tell me a bit about your mum and dad and your parents and your siblings.
That's interesting actually, because I was talking about this the other day. So I was born in 1985. I've obviously got mum and dad. This is a story I was telling the other day. They were both working two jobs to obviously keep the family going. So I feel this is probably where my drives come in life. I've got a sister as well. She's a couple of years younger than me. Born in Rainham, Kent. I work in Sittingbourne, Kent. So yeah, upbringing wise, I would say I've had a pretty good upbringing. Mum and dad, unfortunately, have split now. That was at the age of around 20. But yeah, as a childhood, I couldn't have complained really.
What did your dad teach you?
Hard work, drive, turning up every day.
What line of business was he in?
He was a chef, so it was relentless.
I
So
mean, that is a way of life, isn't it?
yeah, so it was
Did you
solid.
hardly see him?
I did, yeah, I did. I did see him quite a bit, but as I said, when he was a youngster, he was working 16, 17-hour days. So it was quite a lot. It's probably where I got it from, to be honest, because that was at one point in my career what I was doing.
Chefing.
No, 16-hour
Was
days.
he? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
just to get the business going.
And your mum, what did she do?
She's various different things, but her main role was HR, human resources. So
Okay. Two jobs each. That's, with two kids, that's quite tough. I mean, what did she teach you?
um, being me, obviously my mum, I've got a lot of admiration for my mum. So she's again, it's the same hard work, treat people like you want to be treated,
Mm.
looking after others. She's always put herself before anybody else.
Did the split affect you?
Um,
I mean, did they stay together, do you think,
I
until
think
your
it, I
sister was
think
18?
at the time,
Sorry if I'm prying, but
no, that's fine. I think to be honest, at the time, yes, but looking at it, they probably had two different lives, so it was probably best. And looking at both of them now, they're probably better off where they are. So, um, did it actually affect me? At the time, yes, but not tremendously.
and look, your sister, what does she do?
Sister, this moment in time, she works at Benidorm Hospital. So her main role is being an assistant to one of the doctors there.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a policeman.
Policeman.
Yeah. So when I left school at 16, I went to do a public service course. Didn't do very well at school, be honest. I got two C's, six D's, three E's. So I went off to college, quickly worked out that I didn't want to be a policeman, and then actually I wanted to then be a fireman. And I actually did apply to be in the fire brigade, but it was a 3-year waiting list. And then at the time, my mum was working at Marks and Spencer's, so I went and I was doing part-time there while I was at college, and then went there full-time until I fell into this.
Isn't it amazing that the vast majority of estate agents fall into estate agency, that we never actually want to be an estate agent? I think I can name two, Megan 18 and Perry Power.
Yep.
They're the two that I know for, when as a child they wanted to be an agent, but
Yeah.
everyone else fell into it. Why did you fall into it? Was it, I mean,
So,
from that 2000 and 2004?
yep,
Okay, so you would have been 19.
eight. At the
18.
time, I was 18. Yeah,
Okay,
just
so you were
coming up to
full time at
19.
Marks.
Yep.
What, bored of putting your sandwiches in the fridge?
I was on frozen department.
Frozen. Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
I've got the sales up on there, so it was always in my background.
Fantastic. What was it? I mean, so many people sat there. They said, they just wanted something different. They want their mate. Was there any of your friends in a state agency, or did you just see an advert in the paper?
No, it was my auntie at the time. They came round our house for something to eat, and they said, "Oh, I reckon Harrison's down in Raynham are looking for a job." My auntie knew the manager there at the time, and she said, "Oh, I reckon you should go for it." And at the point, a decision was made to actually take somebody on, but because of that connection, they allowed me to come in, and then as soon as I got in, I got the job there and then.
What were you doing? Sweeping the floors, sticking photos on brochures? Actually, 2004, we weren't sticking photos on brochures then.
No, so again, I quickly progressed through the company at the time. So at the time when I joined, I went to the owner at the time in
2004, this was.
2004, yeah. And actually asked what sort of qualifications I could get. So obviously at the time it was obviously the NAEA. So he put me on a course there, and within a year I got my qualification.
It's quite rare for a 18-year-old to say what qualifications.
It's yeah, and bearing in mind, obviously, my background at school, I was one of those that talked too much and had potential. But I suppose at school, as I said, I was just one of those that always wanted to muck about. But then, and again, the only so going back to when I was talking about the police and fire brigade, the key thing that I knew always drove me was whatever I did, I wanted to get to the top of where I was. That was my driving force. So it didn't matter what it was. I just wanted to go right. I want to be at the very top.
So you want to be like chief constable or
Yeah,
divisional HQ
at the time.
officer.
Yeah. So as soon as I then
Winning.
obviously, yeah, you could say that, yeah. So
Did you get that from either of your mum or because you said what your mum or dad did?
Mhm.
I didn't hear the word winning, or it was more of service and hard work.
yeah, service and hard work.
So
So
where did that "I want to be number one" gene came from?
I was just always very competitive.
At school, were you competitive
Yeah.
with sports
Yeah,
and things
sports
like
and football. In training, I'd treat training as a game. Like it was always one of those that I wanted to be better than what was yesterday.
that? But there's a difference between beating yourself from yesterday and there's a difference between beating someone else.
I'm always beating myself.
Sorry?
Well, rephrase that one. I'm always looking at myself and think I can be better. It doesn't matter what way.
But is it bettering yourself from yesterday or is it beating the competition?
At one point, it was beating the competition.
Did that come? I mean, again, you were. When I say just, I don't mean that, but you'd only just started on the bottom and you were a neg.
Yep.
When did you start valuing houses?
2005. So within a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
19-year-old in Raynham.
Yep.
Can you remember your first house?
Yeah, shit yourself. Not literally.
No.
But it was funny because I always remember because my training at the time, I shadowed the manager at the time, I shadowed the owner, and that was it. Off you go. So everything that I sort of I suppose one of my things is I am a very good listener. So it was always one of those that I'm constantly listening to people. But it was always one of those that I even look at it and like one of the second valuations I did a valuation at 9 o'clock in the evening. And I sold it by 9:30 that evening because I already had a buyer. So it was always one of those that I wouldn't have said I was the most intelligent, but ultimately for me, it was a case of I knew how to win. And I don't know where, as I said, because I look at it now and I'm thinking there wasn't really much training to going out and actually winning business.
Did you used to love going out valuing? Stranger's door.
No, I always used to pull up and I used to look at it and think, oh, I hope you don't answer the door. It was always one of those. But again, I suppose I wasn't that confident going up to the door purely because I probably hadn't had the proper training. But as soon as I then got in through the door, I was okay.
You went out for a few days with your boss.
Yeah.
And a few days with the branch manager. That's pretty high level training in a state agency.
In fairness, yeah, it is. But yeah.
But we might joke, but that is
generally
how estate agents go out for a few days and
sink or swim. It was always one of those that I knew how to swim. So
you were still at home at this point in 2005, 2006?
So that was at the point where my mum and dad had split up. So me and two friends, no, actually it was it was 2007 going into 8, because that was when the recession, we bought just before the market crashed. So
as friends.
Yeah, so there's 3 of us that bought my mum and dad's place. So that would have been at that point when they split up. So yeah, 2007.
And did you all live in the house?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still own the house, or did you sell it and move on? And
well, obviously it got to a point when then both of them had partners that they wanted to move on with, but obviously the market crashed so much that I just given the deposit back because there was no equity in the house. which later on actually did end up benefiting me because it said it was affordable for me to stay there on my own.
Now, I'm understanding that a couple of years later, they moved you to the Sittingbourne office.
Yeah, so in 2007, I got the promotion to go over there. So that was technically at the time to be the senior neg. But then what happened as soon as I got there, at the time there was a bit of a transition with Harrison's. So Harrison's, to give you a bit of background, there was a Sittingbourne branch, a Raynham branch, and a commercial department. Rob at the time, in 2007, when he promoted me down to Sittingbourne, he was in the process of selling Raynham. So he sold Raynham off to the Sittingbourne manager at the time and then kept hold of Sittingbourne. So I suppose looking at it, it was probably quite strategic from his point of view that he wanted to push me down that way and gave me the promotion.
What was it like, 2008, 2009? I mean, you were a staff member, so I mean, I know we'll come to it in a second. You experienced the downturn in COVID, so you saw it from the other side of the point of view. They're completely different, aren't they? When you're a staff member
Yeah,
versus your own business, it's chalk and cheese, isn't it?
it is indeed, yeah.
Can you have any recollection of the market going tits up, in 08, 09?
I remember because I used to talk about it a lot. So when you were talking like, oh, a couple of weeks without a sale, I remember us going 6 weeks without an offer. So I can remember that quite vividly.
But your wages were still being paid, so it didn't really matter.
For me, it was okay. Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. 'Cause again, I just thought as you said that because at the time, Rob, who was the owner, he actually said to me, if anybody else comes up and offers you a job, I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep you. And at that time, a big agent locally approached me. And I said he got to a point where I was going to go there, and then I spoke to Rob, and he was like, "That don't know, I've got plans for you within the business." So it was weird that it went from "Go on, off you go," if something else comes up, and then suddenly it was like that. Oh no.
How long between those two conversations?
It
Weeks or months?
it would have been a few months.
At least he was giving you heads up. He was,
Mhm.
thought a lot of you.
Mhm.
Did that make you feel good or bad that he was giving you the heads up, or did you think he was trying to get you out?
Um,
Because you can see it from both sides of the view.
yeah, and I suppose knowing what I'm like, I would probably say exactly the same thing if I was in that position where I didn't know if I could keep the business going. So I
Can
think,
you now, in hindsight, see what he was going through?
oh yeah, massively.
But could you see it through your own eyes at the time, or
No,
you've had to have gone through that yourself?
yeah,
You have to
no
say,
chance. Yeah, I didn't have a clue really. But it's quite interesting because again, there was a funny story going back to like 2006, 7, where it's, at the time, my senior person, I always remember it, and I say this to a lot of my staff because I've been there. He always used to get cards out, and that was the other thing. It was one of those that I looked at it and I got to a point that went home and spoke to my mum, and it was just like I'm in a position now where my goal of where I want to get to is now being hindered because I've got my senior person just wanting to play cards at Christmas. So that was again another reason. So when the option came to go from Raynham to Sittingbourne, I knew nothing about Sittingbourne to be honest, other than at the time a lot of negatives. So it was a big movement for me, but ultimately it was clearly the right one.
2012, your loyalty was rewarded by being made a partner. Was that partner in name or equity?
In equity. So he brought me into the business, and obviously his route at the time was obviously he had a few more years that he was looking to retire.
How old was he at the time?
It would have been early 60s.
Okay. So he's almost like a work father figure to you.
I would say so. I've got there's a lot of credit I've got. As I said, 2016 when I took over, my loyalty to him, I
Because you bought the
feel
business off him, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Sales or sales and lettings?
It was just sales. So at the time, as I said, he brought me in, and as I said, I've got a lot of credit to him. But there was a few legalities at the time with the commercial department, and that the name couldn't carry on if Rob had gone. So I had to deal with that as soon as I then agreed, because then they wanted money from me. So I felt like
Who's they?
the commercial team. So the commercial sort of owned name Harrison's Residential. So when I then carried on with the company, which was apparently not allowed to carry on, although they did agree verbally at a lunch that I could carry on. As soon as he then went off to Australia, they come back and said, how much money do you want to pay us to continue the name? So I had to then deal with that at the time. So I felt like somebody that was sort of a work father figure to me left me in the shit, because I then had to deal with that. So I was a bit naive going into business.
So did you sell the commercial business to the commercial guys?
Sorry, they split back in 2010. So Harrison's Raynham disbanded in 2007. He then came out in 2010, but the agreement was Harrison's Sittingbourne couldn't continue when he left, even though they had an agreement at lunch with me to carry on.
But again, that's just an experience there, ladies and gentlemen. He's get stuff done in writing.
And I'm going to say don't trust people in business, but there's a lot of people that have been very good to me where they've had my best interests, and that's what I've learned the last few years, if anything. There are people there. So I was just about to say, you can't trust anyone in business. You can't, but you can. If that makes sense.
Of course you have.
Yeah.
My attitude is that you trust everyone until they break that trust.
And unless it's got, I'm done then. So then, as I said, like, I'll move on, but it'll be like, no, you're gone now.
But stuff like, there's stuff that everything doesn't have to be written down, but there's certain stuff that has to be written down.
Yeah.
You got that sorted out. You had the business was in your name by 2016.
I paid him off over a period of 3 years. So in 2019 was when I officially owned Harrison's, but I was running it effectively on my own between 2016 and 19. Well, I say I have been running it since then, to be honest. But
okay, what was it like? Forget the fact you were paying off, because that's almost like a mortgage.
Yeah.
In the first 12 months, what was the biggest challenge you had from being an employee to an owner?
I would say even going back to even with 2007, I've always treated it like it's sort of my own business anyway. So it's very difficult for me to answer, because sort of going back to it, like we sort of alluded to this as well. How I always used to see success in a state agency was number one on a pie chart, as we discussed earlier on. So that was my naivety at the time, that my goal in 2007 was, right, who's selling more houses here? Right, I'm going after you, and I'm gonna drive to.
You liked your pie charts, do you?
I did at the time, but I suppose that was the only thing that I knew at the time was success.
So things were going okay.
Mhm.
17, 18 and 19.
Yep.
Happy with everything?
Yeah, we were doing well. As I said, we were number one on a pie chart. So at the time, it looked okay at the time.
Okay. Yeah, but what percentage of market share?
Yeah, at the time it wasn't where it needs to be.
You see, if you are going to be number one, at least have what? I mean, again, what would your minimum percentage be if you do have to wave your willy in the air with a?
From a recent video I just listened to, 35%.
35%.
40, yeah. I don't know who I heard that one from.
Again, when you compare yourself against someone else,
Mhm.
I think you've already lost. You've got to compare yourself against what you were yesterday. And I know everyone goes roll their eyes,
Mhm.
but the winner, again, I think estate agents see a state agency to serve them, when in reality we're here to serve others, aren't we?
Well, going back to it as well, when you go back to that number one, it was a case of my instructions, even going back, as I said, to when at the very beginning, was just get it on. So it was a case of I'd go out there. At the time when I came into the industry, the independents were 1.5% and the corporates were at 2%. So if I went up against an independent at 1.5%, it's I could do it 1.4 today. You sign up today. So it was a lot of tactics to get the deal on, which I look at now and I was thinking, well, I was devaluing myself, if anything.
COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like? Tell me about that year.
So at the beginning of 2020, obviously just as we were going into COVID, I remember it because it was my day off at the time, and I knew that it was going into lockdown. So I drove into the office on the day off, and my words to the team there was, don't worry, I don't know how I'm going to get through it yet, but your jobs are all safe. So I don't want you to then be worrying about what's going to happen. We'll get through it. So that was my conversation then. Obviously, looking at lockdown, what could I do? Ultimately, it was a case of, I suppose that's the first time I actually worked on the business and looked at what we could improve. And at the time, obviously Brian Mansell I got on very, very well with him. I had Brian and Sarah in 2018 do some training, which again was the best investment that I've done. But he came up with the reservation agreements there, so it was just something that was the fourth part for us. Now that I was like, right, that's the final piece of the jigsaw. So when we came out, and I remember it, the 13th of May, which was my wedding anniversary,
Because you've
ironically.
been married 2 or 3 years at this point, had you? You married in
But
17, weren't you?
no, yeah, 2017.
What were the conversations like with your other half when the poo was hitting the fan in those 8 or 9 weeks?
That wasn't at the point where I was struggling in the business. So
Are you an optimistic? I mean, there's a difference between positive and optimistic.
I'm always, yeah, always
Which one
very
are
much
you?
so. I'm always positive.
Okay.
So, well, I say that. That's a bit of a lie. I generally always aim to see the positive in each situation.
All right. Okay. So you came out. So everything was okay at home. You said to the team, "We'll get through this." We came back quite quickly, and now all of a sudden the property market exploded.
hmm
And surely this should have been happy times for you as an estate agent.
Yeah, so at the time, as I said, when we came out, for one reason or another, we had a period of about 2 months where the 7 people ended up being free. At the time, I had 2 very young kids as well, so that there had only been, well, just over one, and we just had another. Um, so the 7 went down to 3, and that third person was an apprentice that I'd just taken on. So there was a lack of sleep.
Why did you
And
lose so many staff?
um, one went to another agency.
This was like June, July, August 2020.
Yeah. One went to a solicitor, one retired, one didn't like the way I spoke to her because she didn't come into work and admitted that she'd been out the night before and was very drunk. And I said that wasn't acceptable, so she left. Worked that one out. And then the other person, she just decided that she didn't want to be a estate agent. So it was a team that I'd had for a few years, and then just suddenly out of the blue, for one reason or another, I don't know if it was me.
How did it make you feel?
Um,
That's what I
quite
to be.
shit, to be honest. I suppose it's one of those when you've got. It was just like a domino effect. As I said, one handed a notice in, and then just one after the other, and it was like, well, what the hell's going on? Like 4 months ago, I was telling you I was going to keep you all safe and don't worry, and then next thing you know, they're all leaving.
Because they say people don't leave firms, they leave bosses.
Yeah, and I can always look back on myself and think at the time. It was that number one driving force. I wanted to be that. So as soon as we dropped down to second, it was a case of, right, we need to get back there. So at the time, I probably wasn't the greatest of leaders.
Were you more of a manager at this point?
I don't think I've ever been a manager. Even when I've progressed through my career, I don't think the title I've had.
Well, managers telling them what to do, leading was leading them to do it.
Yeah, I was always out on the forefront. It was always the case, and I was driving. So it was more, I would say, I wasn't really I was never taught how to manage. That was the other thing. It was just one of those. I'd never had a one-to-one. It was just one of those that every single day I knew what I needed to do.
And basically, you bark the orders.
Yeah, pretty much.
3 of you in the office, you're working silly hours.
Yeah.
The market was on fire.
Yeah, lack of sleep because of the little ones. We had, as I said at the time, we had 99 in the pipeline, and then we had 49 that we were trying to sell at the same time. So, and you release the 3 bedroom semi today, and by tomorrow morning you'd have 30 inquiries. It was just relentless. So there was a period that I then ended up recruiting very poorly. But it was a case of that's the only person there. They seem okay. Let's take them on.
Bum on seats.
Yeah. And at the time, I hadn't really had to properly recruit up until that point. So, yeah. And then there was a period in November where in 1 week we had 5 complaints from people. And then it just literally got all on top of me. So I will remember this quite clearly as well. I was always putting a brave face on. So this was probably, if you think about it, it was probably starting around June, July, and it was around November. So it was that period of time that I was never one of those that I'd actually talk to anybody. I always kept it within, and it was always put on a happy face. At the point, I remember, so there's between Sittingbourne and Rainham, it's about 7 miles. And I picked up the phone to my coach at the time, and I literally cried all the way home. Didn't say anything. I was just listening to my coach. Got to the front door, and then Well, I didn't actually, because I stayed in the car for about a couple of minutes, drying my eyes, making sure they weren't bloodshot. And then next thing I got in the front door, and my other half went, "Oh, look, Daddy's back to his usual self." And then literally, it just all came out. And obviously, she was quite apologetic. I'm gonna get bloody hell. So, yeah, it was a bit of a tough time, but
What was going through your head?
what was going
It's
through
just
my head
months
at
and
the time?
months of spinning plates,
Yeah.
being of a twat of a boss.
Yeah, again, it was just, I suppose, there was just a lot of emotion. When I suppose when you're looking at it as well,
Were
it's
you carrying?
always,
Were you? Were you expressing this? Were you expressing these frustrations to your missus between the summer of 20 and?
probably inadvertently, I probably was. I probably at the time, I wouldn't have known I
Or were you
was.
just like a moody bugger and that's what she said?
It could, well, probably, that's the
Were
reason
you
why
being honest with your coach? I mean,
I spoke to them. Yeah, I spoke to them.
No, but were you throughout that summer and autumn?
Not
being honest?
entirely, no. Not 100%, no.
So what was the catalyst that make you? I mean, there are people in this industry
Mhm.
who are carrying the world shot that you look at their social media, I think they're flying.
Mhm.
I'm not going to mention any names, who are basically got the world's problems on their shoulder and won't even tell their other half.
That
Yeah.
was me.
Massively in debt, creating a brave face.
Yep.
What was the catalyst that made it all go bush?
I just think it was just to the point. I always remember that that, as I said, COVID, it was always one of those that I gave myself a 48-hour rule. I could be miserable for 48 hours and then I'd man up. That was what I told myself, right? You've had your 48 hours, right, man up now, Chris, get on with it. So I always had that. But it was just one of those that I always remember. And I was like, it's gone well past 48 hours now. I can't get myself out of this. I don't know what to do. So it's just a case of I drive to work. I remember it. It was just like, I don't want to go to work. I can't be dealing with it today. Got to work. Next thing you know, face on. Right, let's deliver. One of my customers would never have known anything like it because it was just always one of those. When I got those it was those 5 complaints that made me up and done, because purely everything I was always doing was to impress them. So when I had 5 people complaining in a week, when I only had 1 in my entire career,
But it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you do to get out of this dip?
I just had to relook at everything. It was one of those, I literally at the time, we were battling at 1% fees. Overnight, I was like, I came in, I was like, right, we're not 1% anymore, we're 1.5%. Like, overnight, like that, done. We had to then look at, I had to look at it from the aspects of we had to add more value to clients, but we had to turn people away. So bearing in mind, I was number 1 on a pie chart. So then suddenly I'm having to turn business away, and then you could see it going. That was another battle in itself. But then I had to then move on a couple of people at the time because they weren't right.
It's interesting because we're filming this in December, which is where I do my advent calendar top 250, and there are agents in there that have gone from there to there but are more profitable because they don't need the vanity of being on a bigger pie chart, because as well as the difference of charging 1.5% on probably 60% of what you would have been doing before the versus 100% of 1%. You're earning more money, and it's a lot more stressful, and you can be more happier in your job.
Our average fee at the time was about 2,600, and then we got it up to 5,500. So we pretty much
You weren't
doubled.
number 1. Well, how did you dance that boil with the fact that you're not number 1?
That probably took a few years still to get over it, but then I looked at it. But I always wanted, and it didn't matter who it was, if I was in front of somebody and they had a bad experience with an agent, I would then, right, I'm going to change your view on estate agents now. Now, it was probably the client that was the issue, and I was just taking on anybody just to deal with it. And
so where is this self-awareness? Is this your coach? Where did you see the light of turning from basically a robotic, I want to be number 1 estate agent? Was it going through COVID? Because I know we're going to come to this in a second. It hasn't all been sweetness and light since you come out the other, since the shit hit the fan. Because normally it's, I'm not very good. I'm going for my number one. Shit hits the fan. Oh my god! I realise I'm going to be a change man. Oh, and then off we go.
Mhm.
You haven't had that, have you? Because the shit hit
No.
the fan again in 2003,
23.
2023.
Mhm.
I'm a massive fan of the book, and I know you know this. That Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, and they reckon that you have to hit rock bottom
Mhm.
before you can come back. Do you
Yeah.
think you hit rock bottom in 2020?
From a mental yeah, 100% it was. Yeah.
Okay. In hindsight, because you know your figures are good
Mhm.
in Sitting Bull, you do really well. I was genuinely surprised when you said the shit hit the fan in 2023 with some staff members.
Mhm.
Could you, in hindsight, have seen where the problem was in 2021?
Yeah, quite possibly. There might have been an individual who, again, I valued massively.
But again, there's always going to be a fly in the ointment.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Do you think without hindsight you'd have done, with hindsight, but not knowing what you knew, do you think you could have done anything differently, or was it just a case of that's just the shit of running a business that you're gonna have to deal with staff members that do unsavory things?
Um, in hindsight, as I said, I would yeah, in hindsight now, I feel if I wanted to get to where I am at this very moment in time in my life, then I probably would have had to make that decision a lot earlier. In 2023, there was something that happened with a staff individual, with a client that could have massively, and it did that year, it did massively because there was also something else that happened with a staff member. And
But you can't control that, can you?
no, no,
There's
it's
always
just,
going to be a loose cannon.
mhm,
It's hard running a business, isn't it?
it's not easy. And it's interesting because you brought up social media earlier on, and the reason now I've been because I spoke at FIA, and this is obviously how we got to this point. And one of the things that a lot of people have always said to me, and they've always said to me, "Oh my God, you're doing so well on social media," and yeah, we look like we're doing really, really well, but it's all of these continuous issues. And this is why I wanted to be more open, because again, if that's what they're seeing of me, they're probably struggling with themselves. So I want to make people talk a bit more.
All we on social media, all we see is people's highlight reels,
Yeah.
like the classic swan. All graceful at the top, and under the water they're doing all this because it isn't.
No.
The number of people that, like I've said, I've sat on that sofa who you would look up to in this industry as agents, where the shit is hitting the fan as we speak. People that you would put on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Because it's weird. What will happen is for about 3 minutes after we switch the cameras off, I could ask you anything in the world and you'd tell me anything.
Yeah.
Because of almost like that, it's cathartic and people. And honestly, you're right. We shouldn't judge other people's highlight reels, should we? We should.
No. But then is this, I suppose when it comes back to, is it, again, when you're talking about estate agents, we're all egotistical to a certain degree, isn't it? We're not, the vulnerability side of things is what I would say you see in a estate agency.
No, of course not. I mean, you mentioned I did a podcast with Angie Cooney and told things on that podcast that I've never said before.
Yeah.
I've been interviewed many times and said some things that that will probably shock people.
But that was one of the things that enabled me then to, because again, one of my coaches a couple that I've had recently is this too shall pass, and that's always stuck with me. Denzel Washington's, this was my whole point with fall forward. You are going to fail, but as long as you keep falling forward, and that was a test in time. But
as the great poet Rocky Balboa says in Rocky IV, life will hit you in the face and knock you down. It's what you do when you get back up.
Yeah.
Where's that strength come from? I mean,
it's got to come from the parents, isn't it? So that's the
and obviously now your missus.
Yeah.
Is having kids important?
That's my goal now. So again, when I took over the company in 2019, I was lost then because I hadn't put that down, but I reached my goal which was I wanted to get to the top of where I was. So to me, it was like I wanted to run a business, and 2009 I got it. Now where do I go?
It's really funny. The amount of successful estate agents, who they get bored.
Hmm.
So they are like, what happens is that they subconsciously put a spanner in the works so they can come and sort it out, or they go and do something else, like set up a prop tech firm or become an estate agency guru. We don't need any more of them, do we? You haven't said you're not thinking of being a guru or setting up your own prop
Absolutely
tech
not.
firm.
No, I'm all right. I'm all right.
I mean, how old are you now then? You must be
40.
40.
Yeah.
Because you're born in 1985. I mean, you're going to be working now for the next 20 or 30 years.
I won't.
No, but if you're that good, you'll get bored,
Mm.
and then you'll either drink yourself to death or drug yourself to death,
Mhm.
or bugger off with another young woman or something.
Mm. No, she's been my rock.
So therefore, we're going to make sure that you don't slip yourself to death or drink yourself to death, because you'll get bored.
But the thing is, the other thing, and this is an interesting thing, because I only put this as a post out the other day. It's like, I was thinking about it, and in 2020, one of the things I said to my other half was, you got to let me just go and run. I've got to go and do something. You've got to let me just go and run. And it's really interesting, and I don't know if I've just done this inadvertently or subconsciously, I don't know, but I was thinking about it. I've done a 24K at the weekend, and I thought about it, and at the last leg, I always make sure I'm running uphill. So I've done a long run, and then at the end of it, I'm running uphill, which is the hardest part. And I don't know, I don't know if it's just something I've just worked out, is those cold mornings. I love getting up and going out, because I'm training my mind now for another issue that's going to probably come down the line at some point. So I'm just trying to get to a point now where I keep pushing myself to a point where it is difficult. But I don't know. Again, that's just how I've just trained my brain over the last few years.
You don't know what's going to come in front of you, so therefore you're almost just like you go running. Which sorts out your heart and your legs. You're expanding your brain as well to be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
If COVID happened again, do you think you'll be in a better place to deal with it?
I think because of what I've learned, so I suppose it's looking at it again, bad boss or not, were they the right team members? This is one of the things I always remember Brian Mansell said, he always referred everything to football and transfers. They're not going to be with you forever. And I think that always used to tempt me as well, is then people come and go. Now, again, if it could have been my recruitment, it would have been my recruitment at the time. But I look at it now, and yeah, the certain values that I've got within the business, the people that I had before weren't aligned with those. So now that I've got these set, it makes it a lot easier now for me to actually recognise the right people for the company. So
anyone watching this agent-wise who's in a black hole, what's your final piece of advice for them?
Talk. Simple as. It's one of the key things, and it's why I'm now. I've got several, fortunately, and the people now that I've got I've got other coaches that I pay for. That's fine. Obviously, Perry, I'm with him, but Brian Mansell, Dave Gibbons, and Rob Brady, and Stephen Brown are the four people really that I don't give anything technically for, but they always invest their time in me. But it always seems to be just one of the other things as well, is it's the people that aren't there necessarily for the money are the ones that are actually invested in my growth. So I fortunately have got people there that I can talk to at any point, and it can be 6 o'clock in the morning, and now I know they'll be there. To it's to surround yourself with the people, isn't it? That better than you, but ultimately talk.
Thank you for your time today, Chris.
Cheers.